OpenAI has their own Mythos model, and just like Anthropic, they're not releasing it publicly. A leak reveals OpenAI is also turning their Mac Codex app into a full all-in-one platform with chat, agents, and background automation baked in. Google is rolling out an agent mode inside Gemini with schedules and skills tab, plus interactive 3D visualizations right inside the chat. And Anthropic just paired Opus and Sonnet together in a way that gets you Opus level intelligence at a fraction of the cost. So let's get into it. So Anthropic dropped a model this week that apparently is so good enough at hacking that they didn't want to just release it yet. And now it turns out that OpenAI is doing the exact same thing. Axios reported today that OpenAI is finalizing a cybersecurity product that they're only going to give to a small group of partners. There's not going to be a public launch or anything like that, which sounds very familiar to what Anthropic is doing. Because Anthropic just announced they're doing a limited rollout of Mythos Preview, their new model, handling access to a hand-picked group of tech and cybersecurity companies. They were actually the first AI company to take that approach with a new model, and within days we find out that OpenAI has been running the same playbook since February, according to them. That's when they launched something called Trusted Access for Cyber, which came after the release of GPT 5.3 Codex, which is their most capable reasoning model for cybersecurity. Companies in the invite-only program get access to even more capable models, and OpenAI threw in $10 million in API credits to get people into the door. So you got two of the biggest AI labs both quietly building restricted cyber programs at the same time, and the reason they're being so cautious is pretty telling. Security leaders have been warning for a while that AI could eventually get to the point where it can autonomously go after critical infrastructure. Power grids, water utilities, financial systems. Rob Lee, chief AI officer at the SANS Institute, told Axios flat out that you can't stop models from finding flaws in older code bases. That capability is already out there. Wendy Whitmore from Palo Alto Network said it's weeks or months, not years, before something similar is just available in the wild. The way these companies are handling it actually looks a lot like responsible vulnerability disclosure. In security, when you find a critical bug, you don't post it publicly, you tell the affected party first, give them time to respond, then go public. That's essentially what's happening here, except the vulnerability is the model itself. One thing worth flagging, this cyber product is supposed to be separate from OpenAI's upcoming model, Spud, which is going to have a whole different release and is going to be something different entirely. So we'll keep an eye out for that one as well. There's a leak floating around today about what OpenAI is actually building with their Mac Codex app, and it's more than a coding tool. According to a breakdown from a leaker, Chatsula on X, OpenAI is quietly turning Codex into an all-in-one platform. Chat, Codex, and OpenClaw all inside a single app. They're using Codex as a foundation and stacking everything on top of it. So what does that actually mean in practice? A few things are showing up in the code. There's infrastructure being built for rendering and reading images and video natively. There's a heartbeat system, which is the same kind of persistent background monitoring that OpenClaw uses to stay aware of what's happening on your machine. And there's a per task model and thinking mode selection. Basically, the ability to route different tasks to different models depending on what you need, which again mirrors how OpenClaw manages its agents. The other thing worth noting is what they're doing to the UI. The changes are explicitly designed to make Codex feel less like a tool for coders and more universal. That's a direct signal about who they're trying to reach with this. Right now, Codex is pretty clearly aimed at developers. Whatever this becomes is meant for a broader audience in the long run. The heartbeat system in the code is particularly interesting. If you look at the JSON schema that leaked, it describes two types of automations: cron jobs, which are standalone recurring tasks, and heartbeat automations, which are proactive follow-ups attached to an active thread. The second one is what makes this feel less like a productivity app and more like something that's actually running in the background, watching and jumping in when it thinks is useful. That is a meaningful shift from what Codex is today. And combining that with chat and OpenClaw in a single Mac app starts to look a lot like OpenAI's version of native desktop AI that does more than just answer questions for you. Nothing officially confirmed yet. This is coming from code digs and leaks, but the direction here is also very clear that they want to get this out ASAP. Before we continue, we just launched the Universe of AI newsletter. If you want to stay on top of AI news without having to hunt for it, link is in the description. Don't miss out. Some Gemini users are waking up to a new toggle in their interface today. Right next to the chat tab, there's now an agent tab. And when you switch to it, you get a completely different sidebar with schedules and skills. Testing Catalog spotted this earlier today. It's not live for everyone yet, but it's showing up for some people. So what is it actually? The Schedules tab pretty much shows what it sounds like. Gemini running tasks on its own without you having to prompt it every single time. The Skills tab looks like where you configure what it can do and what it has access to. And then there's the suggested prompts in the UI, which tell you a lot about what Google is actually going for here. Recommend a film based on my YouTube history, describe my vibe based on my emails, show me hidden patterns in my Google searches. These aren't chat prompts, these are tasks that require pulling from your data across Gmail, YouTube, search, photos, all of it at once. That's kind of Google's whole play here. Every other AI lab is building agents and then figuring out how to get them connected to your data. Google already has that data. They had it for years. An agent that can actually use all of that together in a coherent way is a pretty natural fit for them, if they can pull it off. The interface is also running on Gemini 3, which you can see in the input bar, so this isn't a legacy product getting a facelift, it's their newest model underneath. Still early, still rolling out slowly, but the fact that it's appearing for real users means it's past the purely internal stage. Also from Google today, Gemini can now turn your questions into interactive visualizations right inside the chat. You have adjustable variables, rotatable 3D models, explorable data, all of it sitting directly in the conversation. And this is actually something a few AI assistants are racing to get right at the moment. Claude rolled out its own version of this back in March. You can ask Claude how compound interest works, and it will generate an interactive curve you can play around with directly in the chat. You can also ask it about random things like periodic table and all of that will be built into Claude, and you could save it as an artifact, export it as an HTML file, or save it as an image. But there's a key difference between what Claude is doing and what Gemini is announcing today. Claude's version is built around understanding. The visuals appear inline, they're temporary, they shift and evolve as the conversation goes, and they're meant to help you follow along rather than be a standalone output. Think of charts, diagrams, flowcharts. Really useful, but it's more of an explanatory tool than anything else. What Gemini is showing off today goes a step further on the interaction side. Rotating 3D models, adjusting variables in real time, the kind of stuff that feels less like a chat assistant and more like an actual software. Whether that actually holds up outside of the demo is something people will start realizing once they start actually using them, but the timing is worth noting too. OpenAI launched its own interactive visualization feature for math and science in ChatGPT just days before Claude dropped theirs in March, and now Gemini is in the mix. All three of the big AI assistants are pushing toward the same idea at the same time. Text responses alone aren't enough anymore. Google's angle here is pretty clear though. Claude's visuals are built using HTML and SVG, essentially the same building blocks used for web pages. Gemini's approach appears to be leaning harder into native 3D and interactive model rendering, which makes sense given Google's infrastructure. They have the compute to back that kind of thing up. It's early for all of them, but the direction is the same across the board. AI assistants are becoming less about reading and more about doing and explaining. So to show you guys this new update that Gemini has launched, I'm going to show you guys how to do it and how to set it up. It's pretty straightforward, but you need to do one key step, which is over here in the model picker. Make sure you guys are selecting the Pro version, which is good for math and code with 3.1 Pro. So click on that. And then when you're typing in a prompt, you have to say something like help me visualize or explain something like that to kind of trigger Gemini to create that model for you. The easiest way is to always say help me visualize this XYZ concept. So I'm going to show you guys an example right now. So I'm going to ask Gemini to help me visualize how a water tower works. Some people might already know this, but this is a good example just for the demo. So then I'm just going to press enter. So it looks like our visualization is ready. We can see it at the bottom over here. So let's click on this. So we can see that we have this static hydrostatic water tower system. So Gemini built this to help us understand. So we can increase the pump power, pump rate. And if we increase that, so we're pumping up the water over there. And this is the city demand. Let's say the demand increases, the water empties. So that's the visualization that it has created. Does it help you understand the answer better? I don't know, it's up to you guys, but it's easy to understand. We have water coming up and coming down there. Maybe I can do another example to show you guys if the visualization feature is good or not. You guys can let me know in the comments, but let me ask something harder. I'm going to ask you something from outer space, which is help me visualize how a black hole works. Let's see if this example gives us a better visualization. All right, so I think reading this blurb would help you understand the visualization a little bit more because it tells you like, okay, we're going to create a dynamic simulation to explore these effects, and it'll tell you what effects over here. You can control the mass of the black hole and observe how it impacts key regions. So let me click on the visualization. All right, is this beautiful? I don't think so, not yet, but let's just see if I increase the mass. I'm just going into the black hole? I don't really understand. So I think this is like, obviously this is the first day of this visualization feature. Maybe if you understand how black hole works, you understand this visualization a little bit better, but it's not bad. Like, okay, maybe it's not 100% yet, but this is headed towards the right way. If you're trying to learn something and you have ability to configure variables and everything like that, it might be easier to understand them. In my personal opinion, the idea is not 100% baked yet. I think this is still a good feature, but I would like to see this visualization feature get a little bit better over time. Anthropic published something today that's pretty useful if you're building with their API. It's called the Advisor strategy, and the idea is straightforward. Instead of running Opus, their heavy model on everything, you run Sonnet as your main worker and only call in Opus when things get complicated. Sonnet handles the task end to end. It calls tools, reads results, iterates towards a solution. When it hits something it genuinely can't figure out, it escalates to Opus. Opus looks at the context, sends back a plan or a correction, and Sonnet picks back up from there. Opus never calls tools or produces any output directly, it just advises. The reason this matters is cost. Opus is significantly more expensive to run than Sonnet. If you're building an agent that handles a lot of tasks, running everything through Opus the whole time adds up fast. The Advisor strategy lets you get most of the intelligence of Opus at a fraction of what it would cost just to use Opus throughout. In Anthropic's own benchmarks, Sonnet with Opus as an advisor improved by 2.7 percentage points on software engineering bench multilingual over Sonnet alone, while actually cutting cost per task by 11.9%. And it works even more dramatically with Haiku. On BrowserComp, Haiku with an Opus advisor scored 41.2%, more than double its solo score of 19.7%. Still cheaper than running Sonnet solo, but performing way above what Haiku could do on its own. Anthropic is also making this a one-line API change today with what they're calling the Advisor tool. You declare it in your messages API request, and the model handoff happens inside a single request. No extra round trips, no context management. The executor model decides when to call it, the context gets routed to Opus, and Sonnet continues all within the same call. Advisor tokens are billed at Opus rates, executor tokens at Sonnet or Haiku rates, and you can set a max use cap to control exactly how many times Opus gets consulted per request. It's a sensible pattern that developers have previously been manually doing for a while. Anthropic just made it easy to do so now. But that's it for today's video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, follow our new newsletter as well at universeofai.beehive.com, as well as subscribe to the main channel World of AI, and support us on X by following the Universe of AIZ as well. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.